So, what's it like to live in an ALU-CAB? What's it like in the tent? Some of you have asked, and I get asked this question almost every day. People are curious. They haven't seen something like this before. And so they'll walk up and say, "What is this?" Or they'll say, "I have been considering something like this. What do you think?" So let's talk about it. I'll break this conversation down into two segments. The first, we'll look at the tent and actually go inside of it, talk about it. And then the second part is what I call the cabin, or the part below the tent. In my case, they're both integral, the tent and the cabin. They come as one. But for the purposes of this conversation, it'll be easier to break them into the two parts. So first, the tent. Before we go inside and take a look, let's walk around the outside and point out a few things. As you can see, I've got the tent open right now. There's a hard shell top up on the very top. I have two load bars on there. Let me hold this up where you can actually take a closer look here. So I have those two load bars on there, but I have not actually used them. I may in the future to tote things around, but because the top has the two solar panels on it, if I put something up there, then it's going to decrease the efficiency of those solar panels generating electricity. Because the sides are flexible, made of this heavy canvas, I generally try to park the truck so that the hard top is facing into the wind and it's taking the brunt of the wind's force. There are 3 windows. You can see one of them there, and there's one on the other side, and then in the back there's also a window. I generally use the 2 windows on the sides, but not so much the one in the back. The one in the back, you have to take the metal extension poles out, and they hold the awning open, and then you can unzip the window and get air through there. I'm a little lazy. Generally I just take the 2 on the sides, but it's real easy to take the poles and put them up on the awning. So that is heavy canvas material there. Can you see light coming through it? Well, unless it's direct, bright sunshine, you really can't tell if it's day or night when you're inside and the windows are zipped up. But I generally keep the windows open a crack for ventilation and to mitigate condensation. You'll also notice that the tent, when it's raised, is supported and kept open by these 2 struts. So there's a pair of struts on each side, and they do a marvelous job. You don't have to worry about that tent coming down. In fact, in warmer weather, I have trouble getting that top down because they are so strong. And in another video that I'm making right now, I talk about different ways of getting it closed if you don't have the weight to put behind it, or you have an injury in your back, as I had recently. So not a problem, it's just something to be aware of. Oh, and one last thought here, as long as we're outside, you'll notice that there is a bungee cord, which is that line running up there, and then there's the strap used to close the tent. The bungee cord is over the strap. That helps when you're closing it, because as you're pulling the strap, the bungee cord gets extended out also, squeezing in the sides of the tent so that the material doesn't get caught between the hard shell and the base. So it helps close the tent. Also, it helps keep that strap in place so that it doesn't get blown up over the top where you can't reach it. Okay, let's go inside and take a closer look at how things are in the tent itself. This is the sleeping platform, and it actually extends beyond what you can see here. It goes over what I call Granny's attic, and I'll talk about that in the next video segment here. Well, obviously you need a way of getting up there so that you can sleep, right? So this part right here is the hatch. It's only a couple of feet, 18 inches or whatever. And so there is a strap here to pull it down, but you just push to open it up, and then you're able to get up there. I used to have a step ladder right here, and I would just step up and then crawl up in there. When I designed these cabinets, I built in steps here, so I can step here, and I can step here, and then I'm up in there very easily. Occasionally, I will put a foot right here. Rather gingerly, I don't put a lot of weight on it, but, you know, to steady myself and stuff. This is a Rubbermaid action packer, and this is where I stow a lot of gear also in there. Alrighty. Alright, we're up here now. So this is the tent sleeping area. There are 3 lights. There's one up there. I'm sorry that's so bright. That's the overhead light. It has 3 changeable settings. So obviously that's off right now. Dim, a little brighter, and the brightest. Also, if you hold your finger on the touch switch there, I guess you can call it, you can get it so that it changes colors. And as you can see right now, it is red. And so you have 3 brightnesses of red or 3 brightnesses of white, whatever you want. Also, on the sides here, there's a little zipper below the window covering. And if I open this up and reach in there, I'm able to pull out a reading light. There it is. And so I can switch that on. It's adjustable as far as positioning, those type of things. I generally don't use this. I guess if you're laying on your back, you know, and your head is on the pillow, and the pillow would actually be where I'm standing in the hatch right now. So my head would be further back, but you know, your arms would be about right here, and you'd have the book, and then the light would be shining on the pages of the book. So I'll have to try that, but I haven't yet. Right next to the reading light are some charging ports. As you can see, there's 2 USB ports, and then there's 2 12-volt ports. The same thing is on the other side of the tent. So I actually have 2 reading lights, 4 USB ports, and 4 12-volt plug-ins there. The canvas material is thick, and it appears to be 2 layers of it. And so when the window is zipped up, it's difficult to tell whether it's day or night, unless the sun is just really intense and bright, shining on it. Has a little bit of a glow to it, but even then it's very easy to sleep in, no trouble. The window screens come with the tent, whereas the ones down below we'll talk about later are optional. But the 3 window screens up here, they come with the tent. And there are a pair of zippers right here. And you can unzip the window itself so that you can open that up. And the reason I do that is, you know, if you take and you flip this out, as I mentioned in another video, the bugs can come up here and then they can fly out and away they go. So that works out really well. I generally keep the zippers over towards the back here because when I'm raising and lowering the platform, which we'll talk about in the next video segment, that gets them out of the way. So the platform has on top of it a mattress or padding, and it's pretty thick, as you can see right here. I don't know that it's memory foam, but it is very, very comfortable. In fact, a lot of places that I've stopped and spent the night with relatives and friends and stuff, I'll stay out here. It's that comfortable. I actually like sleeping here. As long as it's not super, super hot. But then I have a 12-volt electric fan that I put up here. And, you know, it works wonders. Works really good. I highly recommend you carry an electric fan with you. Now, if you look over here, you can see how this is nice and square, but then this line starts running up on the top. And what's happening is, as I put my weight here, it's pulling the material up and over this way. And that's not a big deal. It's not hurting anything. What I could do is I could take and rotate it so that this end is down there, or I could flip the mattress, but I'm going to wait until I get back to southern Florida and I'll take care of those things then. You'll notice I have these pouches that are on the ceiling, and there's 6 of those pouches. That's an option that you can add. ALU-CAB doesn't come with it, but you can get those through ALU-CAB or through your vehicle outfitter. I use them to store USB cables and various things in that one. I've got a book that's in that one. I'll put underwear, other clothing and stuff in it, just various odds and ends. Most of that stuff I'll leave in there, but if I do have some things that are sensitive to heat, because this is the ceiling, it gets some heat, then I'll want to make sure that I take those out. If you have one of the original ALU-CABs, which they call Gen 1 or Generation 1, you unfortunately have to take your sleeping gear out before you lower the tent. With Gen 2 and Gen 3 and those kind of things, you don't need to do that. It's wonderful because I just leave everything set up the way it is right here, and I can close the top. Now, before I close the top, I want to make sure that I take anything out that I need to take out or don't want to have up here, or would prevent it from closing. So let's just talk about what I'm doing here. I have a towel down there, and I have some night clothing and stuff here. But you'll also notice along the sides here, I have a couple of blankets as well as another towel. So this is a good place to store blankets and those kind of things alongside of my sleeping bag. The sleeping bag has a sheet that's in it. I use a bamboo sheet. Works out really, really well. Helps keep me cooler and warm. So, and I have this right now kind of laid out for the configuration of closing the tent. The pillow is near the end, but not at the end, because the light will come down and just beyond the pillow here and miss the pillow. So, you know, I'll have it's kind of hard to show with the amount of space here, but basically about like that. I also have a few other things up here. Every night I make sure that I bring my flashlight. This is a little lantern. It's both a flashlight and the lantern. It's USB chargeable. There's the cord wrapped around right there. So, you know, I can charge that while I'm in the tent. I do carry my counter assault bear spray up here. I have to tell you, you're probably wondering, well, why would you have that in the tent, right? When I was at AVO in Asheville, North Carolina, I was talking with an individual that came back through Canada, and he had a Jeep and had a tent on top of it, and there was an awning that went down around the sides, forming it was a screen, well, which I guess an awning's the best word to call. But anyways, it formed kind of a tent on the side. He crawled up after cooking. He crawls up into the tent, goes to sleep, hears something during the middle of the night. He looks down through the window, and there's a grizzly that's got its nose underneath that tent part. And so he said he just reaches for his bear spray and sticks his arm out the window and sprays, and it startled the bear, obviously, and the bear took off through the tent and just ripped the entire tent off, and away it went. But anyways, so I always just leave this up here with me at night. Hopefully I'll never ever have to use it anyway, but you know. I'm a guy with allergies. I always have Kleenexes, a box of Kleenexes up here with me. And this is no longer prune juice. This is pea juice. That saves having to get up during the middle of the night and go outside to take a leak. And I am able to kneel right here in this, actually when this is closed, I kneel right here and my head will not touch the top. If it does, this is padded. I can't quite see it maybe, but it's kind of a quilted padding, and you won't hurt your head. So works out really, really good there too. Oh, there is one other thing that I usually have up here with me, and that's a fly swatter. When this is closed, and I'm standing in the opening right now, but when it's closed, there is 9 feet from one end to the other end. Plenty of space. And you'll notice that the sleeping bag fits, it doesn't overlap into the opening. So I'm able to close and open the hatch without disturbing the sleeping bag. Now generally, I try to sleep with my head right here. I'll actually have the pillow on the hatch, where the hatch is closed. The pillow I'll move right here, and then I can just get into the sleeping bag. There are times, however, when I'm not able to level the truck such that my head is level or a little higher than where my feet would be down there. And so if that's the case, then I have to turn the sleeping bag around. I put the pillow down there, and I sleep with my feet up towards this end here. And that part down there is wedged. So, you know, it gets down to a narrow part. And so to have room for my head, if that's the case, and I'm sleeping that way, then I will move the sleeping bag so that the foot is all the way up against the other end of the tent. In other words, it would be up against this end here. And that gives my head enough room that, you know, I can get up, sit up, do those type of things. But most of the time, I really try to sleep with this configuration that you see here, so that the pillow is up here at this end. I will take that towel down there, sometimes even this blanket here, which is, you know, you can see how it's folded, it's kind of thick, and I will put that under my pillow, which the pillow is on the platform, the hatch, I should say. So it's on the hatch, and that helps raise my head up just slightly, because the sleeping bag has a little loft to it too, and it just makes things more comfortable. Okay, I'm just trying to give you a view from that end. I'm standing in the hatch. I should take off my shoes, my dirty pants and everything, and close this hatch so you can see, but it gives you 9 feet, which is more than adequate. As far as a couple, you know, if there's 2 people sleeping here, you can certainly do that. 2 people can sleep up here. You might be in each other's arms all night, and that might not be bad. So yeah, there is some room up here. Certainly for one person, this is more than adequate. Is it comfortable? Absolutely. I actually enjoy sleeping here. It's quite comfortable. And so ALU-CAB did a great job of thinking everything through. The other thing that I like about it is that, well, I pulled into a campsite in Jacksonville, Florida, up in northern Florida. And this was like a year ago. It was a pay campsite, you know. And I pulled into my spot, and next to me was a guy that had a couple of tents and awnings up and all kinds of paraphernalia. It must have taken him 2 hours to get everything up. Well, I remember him glancing at me as I pulled in, and then I got out and I released the 2 pins here in the back and pushed up, and the tent was open and deployed and ready to crawl into. Well, then I looked out and the guy glanced over, and honestly, he had a shocked look on his face. I think he was thinking, how did that guy do that so fast? You know? So it is good. And I recommend it to anybody that's interested. So at night, I like to zip the window in this configuration so that there's some space. I'm getting some air through here, but also, you know, I'm not getting air directly on my face. This works really, really well. And this is the way that I have it when I close the tent, because it's so airtight that you need to let air escape as you're bringing the top down. One gentleman told me that he leaves his zipped up when he closes the tent so that he doesn't get any water inside. So I guess he's in a wet environment. But what I do, and if you're watching this, my friend, you can take and zip this up about like that. I'm still getting air in. You can see through there, right? But if it rains, there is no water getting up here on this part right here. And so I could actually leave it like this to close the tent, or zip it down just slightly. But yeah, I would not want to try to to close this. It's hard enough to close it with the struts the way they are on mine, and hopefully not every ALU-CAB has such tough struts on them. It's tough enough to do that, but to have this zipped up so that you're trying to force the air out, oh my gosh, that must be difficult. My hat off to you if you can do that. So in the next segment of this video, I'm going to talk about the cabin improvements, if you can call them that, improvements that I've made to it, changes that I've made, things that I've learned about it, how it works with the tent, how the two are integral but also separate. So that's going to be in the next segment. Right. If I did that right. Somewhere over there. Okay, well, if you have some questions, comment below and I'll get right back to you as soon as I can. I find a lot of times I'm out for a week in a place that has absolutely no cell phone service, much less internet, but I will get back to you just as soon as I possibly can. If you're not a subscriber to Overlandscapes, please subscribe. It helps the channel. Hit that bell and also give me a thumbs up. I'd sure appreciate it. I hope that our trails cross out here in the wilderness somewhere soon.